Everyone, my name is Rhonda Starling. I'm an author. I have written 4 books, and I desire to help inspiring writers become authors, teaching them ways on how they can market their book as well as becoming their own boss. I have my own publishing company and also have the information down below if you would like to reach out, have any questions, or just want to know how you can publish your book. I will love to help you. So today I wanted to come to you with my whole series that I have, which coming from my book, Who Wants to Be an Author. And basically I just created this platform for inspiring writers who desire to write books and they just don't know where to start. I have been getting many questions like, well, what do I do when it comes to writing? How do I self-publish? What are some of the things that I need to do? So this platform is for inspiring writers to reach out. I share great content and things that I use to publish all 4 of my books. And I just try to make it understandable so that way you can go out and write your book and get it published and not just sit on this book. Because my very first book, I have learned through trial and error, and I sat on a book for years, and one day I just decided to put it out. So I definitely want to help you not make the same mistakes I made by sitting on a book and just release it, because at the end of the day, your story matters and someone needs to hear it. So today I'm coming from my book, Who Wants to Be an Author. I call it the Little Black Book. I created this book because I wanted to make it something simple so that the readers can understand and put those helpful tips in practice. I always talk about it's not hard to write a book. It's just you being consistent and taking the time to do it. So I wanted to talk about the editing process, which is one of the most important stages when it comes to becoming an author and publishing your book. You want to make sure the editing process is 100%, if possible. I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect, but you can always go back into fixing the errors that you may find in your book. But it's very important that you have a great editor, someone to edit your book and see what are some of the missing puzzles, some of the things that you may need to implement in your book. Because you want to have a great read. You don't want someone to get your book and not understand your message. You want to make sure in your book, did you get your point across? Did the readers understand? Did you, like I like to talk about self-help books. So in my self-help book, I find a problem and then my book is the solution to someone else's question. So in my book, I want to make sure that I clearly interpret everything that the readers have problems on. Did I fully comprehend or made it readable, understandable for the readers to read and put those tips in practice. So I hired an editor. Of course, in my previous video, I talked about ways on how you can become a published author for less than $100. I will link that down below. Please make sure you check it out. But there are so many ways if you're not able to afford an editor, because editing process, the editor's prices are varied just depending on the editor. And I will also post more videos coming to the different styles of editing, because there are different styles of editing. And sometimes too, people don't know. You may think, well, I just need someone to check for if any bad grammar, but there are other styles to editing, which I will talk about. But I just want to make sure I am covering this part because this is very important when it comes to putting your book out there. So what should you know when it comes to editing? So editing is the process after you have completed your manuscript. So you want to make sure, let's say like if you're sending your book and you're going to publish with a company, of course, they're going to always ask you to send a complete manuscript. And you want to make sure you send it off to a professional editor, someone you know who's an expert when it comes to writing, not someone who just guessing, they may know a little bit. You want someone to work who knows what they're doing, because at the end of the day, I always tell people, when it comes to your products, your services, you are a brand, and what you put out is how others may perceive you. So you want to make sure you're putting out great products. So, and also I talked about, I'm looking at my iPad, finding the right editor. So I also referenced in the previous video, I use software, a website called Upwork, where you can look for basically like a writing editor. You can look for graphics designers. There are different types of different things that you can look for people to help you with. So my latest book, I had hired an editor to write my book, and I'm thinking, well, when I got the book, I just need for you to check for grammar. But she was able to read my manuscript and she was like, no, you need line editing. And of course it blew my mind because I was like, line editing, what's that? So it's okay to, when you don't know things, it's okay to learn. It's always good to be teachable. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And she did an excellent job, I will say. So for creative writers, I have an understanding. This is my key tip for every creative writer. Have an understanding of the editing process. Now, if you have skills where you can save money and edit your own work, because there are two apps that I referenced in the previous video, Grammar, and I think it's Pro Writing Ad, that you can use as like free tools to edit your work, but you still want to hire an editor. If you have a little background in it, then that's cool. You can save money, edit your work. But if you know this is something that is stressful, something you know you cannot do, then I recommend you hire the best editor in Upwork. I would definitely recommend that you use. And I always say, make sure you understand the editing process, places you at an advantage of hiring the right person. Because the reason why you want to know the editing process, you want to know, okay, you've written this book and you know there are certain things, okay, in your book that you may need someone to just look over. Some of the things that you may have missed. So when you hire the right editor, you'll know, okay, when you post your job descriptions, okay, this is what I'm looking for. You'll be able to put those helpful things in practice. Because the worst thing you want to do is post a job, which I'll talk about that later on Upwork, asking them, hey, I'm looking for an editor just to check for grammar, bad grammar. And that's it. You done paid them $400 and then the work finished. But then by the time you look at it, someone else looks at it and like, hey, this needs line editing, but you never asked for it. So when you have an understanding of what you need, you know how to better explain to people. So that's why I say it's always good to know a little about the editing process. So just a few things when it comes to the different types of editing. Just a few things I know. Developmental editing, content editing, structural editing, copy editing, line editing, and mechanical editing. These are different styles of editing. I will make sure I do separate videos on each one so that I can better understand, you can better understand, as well as provide details. And of course, you can ask any questions that you may have, but I want to break it down so that way you'll know what type of editing that your book may need, or certain things that you need to add to your book. So each type of editing, and some of your manuscripts, you may not need all of this type of editing. So don't beat yourself up and like, this is going to cost a lot of money. You may not need mechanical editing, copy editing, or structural editing. You may already know how to do those things when it comes to writing your manuscript. So these things you may not need. So, but like I said, it's always important to know. So someone may be saying, well, why do I need an editor? That's too much money. An editor pretty much going to make your life easy. Like when I was trying to write my book, my very first book, I was frustrated because I'm like, editing is not something that I don't think I'm good at. But I did it because, of course, that was a way for me to save money. And the whole process was a headache. I'm talking about when you're writing a 200-page book and then you have to go back and edit it, everything. And then on Amazon, on KDP, and I will also do a video about that if you want me to show you how to publish or upload your book on KDP. I will definitely do a video, just drop it down below. But I will upload the book, and of course, before you can approve your work to be submitted, you have to go back and review it. And when you review it, anything that is out of place, you got to go back and fix it. So just imagine me doing the editing process, 200 pages, seeing what needs to be fixed, and then having to go back to fix it, and then review all 200 pages. That was a lot. And of course, that pushed back my publishing date when I wanted to put it out there. So it was pretty much a lot for me to do. But I do know that it was definitely a great experience for me to know how to do those things. But I wouldn't recommend like you're doing something like that. Now, if you're doing like a simple novel, maybe something like this, 68 pages, 36 pages, or 10 pages, yes, maybe you can do that. But when you have a big novel, you want another set of eyes to look at it and look at different things that you missed. Because when I finished, I did a little editing with my work and I thought I was good. So when she looked at my work, she's like, you need line editing. I was like, okay, I didn't think I needed that. And she pointed out a few things too. Another thing too, this good came to mind too. I was kind of in my book, I was kind of repeating myself, and I didn't realize that because I had like this long, big book. I didn't know that I used the same information in another chapter. An editor is able to pick up on those things. So when you're using the same repeated like messages in your books, they're able to catch that stuff. Some stuff you may not catch. So I didn't realize that was something, a message that I spoke about in the first chapter that she was able to pinpoint. And she was like, we're just going to delete this part. And I was fine with that. Another thing too, I mean, I know sometimes people say editors, they take out everything. Understand this, your editor works for you. They can give you input, but it's not like they can just completely delete your work. You can look at it, you can take their input and use it or not. But like I said, hire someone who's an expert, who have done so many books, like edit so many books that you know that, okay, this person is giving me quality work and they know what they're doing. So Upwork. So like I said, I use Upwork, and one of the things that someone suggested to me, when you're using Upwork, two things. You want to make sure that they at least have 85% or higher when it comes to their reviews. And I'm big on when it comes to reviews, when it comes to me purchasing products or services. Like when I see like 10 reviews, I be like a little iffy about it, like if I want to work with them, because I'm like, sometimes people be doing a little scams, but when I see, okay, they got 50, they got 100, 1,000 or more, I'm like, okay, I start reading through the reviews and seeing that they are on point. They're presenting when they say they are producing the work when they said they will, then okay, I work with them. Another thing she suggested, which really came in handy, she was like, when it comes to, now if you're doing graphics design for your book cover, it's fine if you hire someone that's outside the country, as long as they make sure that the delivery date is the date that you need. And I always say, like, if you're doing something at the last minute and you're hiring someone outside the country and the time zones are different, then like, you may not get it on time. But I will suggest when it comes to editing, you hire someone in the US. So that way too, not only do the time zone could be the same, but also too, they may relate to some of the slang that you may present in your book. Just saying, if you add that to your book and be relatable. So that's what I have with the editing process. Again, I will bring more videos when it comes to each style of editing. I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment. I will also link my email. If you decide you will need help with writing your book, you can always reach out to me. Again, have a great one.